Dave Sussman back with you at Whiskey Politics on America's Voice Network at ricochet.com. Find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and of course subscribe to us at YouTube. And I'm delighted to be joined back with us again this year at Freedom Fest with the Sage of South Central, Larry Elder. Larry, thanks for coming back.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. Real good.
Good,
yeah.
Good. You know, a lot's happened in the last year, and one of the things we just had
I'll say.
just a few things. Just a few things. I wanted to start on something which has been really just an evolution. It's almost a revolution, and that's this walk away. We had Candace Owens on recently, and we were chatting with her, and Brandon Strzok just came on the show last week. We had an hour with him. What are you seeing happening here culturally right now?
I think what's happening culturally is that the Democrats are overreaching. The activists in the party are overreaching. When you have somebody like Maxine Waters literally say, find Trump cabinet members, form a crowd, make them know that they are unwelcome anywhere anymore, and you don't have the leadership condemning her, there is a freaking problem. And when Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer mildly chastised her, there was a letter signed by 200 black female leaders criticizing them for criticizing her. And so you have a prominent member of the Democratic Party literally encouraging people, in my opinion, to harass, if not use violence against other people just because you disagree with them. Now, I'm used to people on the left being outrageous and crazy, but for somebody like Maxine Waters to say that, that's Maxine Waters. She's been saying stuff like that for a long time. But for the other ones, the presumably adults in the room, not to criticize her and to be afraid of criticizing her, that's a real problem. And the reason that they're afraid to criticize her is because she'll play the race card. She'll accuse them of being bigoted. A, and B, they need people like Maxine Waters, Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton to get that 95% almost monolithic black vote without which they cannot win. Candace Owens, you mentioned her. She and Kanye West are responsible for young people, I think, beginning to rethink their assumptions to the point now where you have polls showing almost 15% of blacks are supporting the Republican Party. Mm-hmm. That is a threefold increase from the percentage of blacks that voted for him, for Donald Trump. So something is happening. They're scared, and therefore they're becoming more and more shrill, more and more outrageous.
Yeah, we were on the main stage yesterday with Charlie Kirk, and one of the polls that came out with black males, 11% at the election is 22% now.
Right, and altogether it's 15%.
Okay.
But you're right, it's doubled for black men.
Okay, and that's got to scare them.
Tell me about it. For years, people like Walter Williams and Thomas Sowell have been writing, if the Republican Party can just get 20% of the black vote, the Democratic Party at the presidential level is toast. And they know it, which is why they've got to go after people like me, people like Candace Owens, call them Uncle Toms, call them sellouts, call them bootlickers, whatever you have to do so that people don't begin saying to themselves, wait a second, why am I in the party that is compelling me to send my kid to a school like Crenshaw High School, where Larry Elder went, where right now only 3% of people can do math at grade level? The Republican Party wants to give me the option to go somewhere else. The Democratic Party wants me to go there, and they're mandating that I have to go to that particular school, yet I'm pulling the lever for the Democratic Party. And the Republican Party wants to do something about illegal immigration, unskilled illegal immigration, that one economist from Harvard named George Borjas, probably he's done more work, Dave, on the impact of legal and illegal immigration maybe than anybody else in the country. He said there's no question that unfettered, unskilled, illegal immigration takes jobs away from people living in the inner city, black and brown people that are unskilled, and puts downward pressure on their wages. Yet I'm pulling the lever for the party that wants open borders. Maybe, just maybe, I need to rethink my assumption. They do not want that. That's why they got to go after people like Candace Owens with a vengeance.
And they are coming after her with a vengeance. What has been the reaction from listeners of yours, folks maybe in the inner city or just nationwide? Betsy DeVos has been pushing right now to repeal the Obama era racial preferences in colleges.
Right. Well, as you might anticipate, on the part of the left, they're very angry about it. But honestly, if you look at the data shows that the more you lower the standards to get somebody into a school because you want racial diversity, the greater the chances that that person who benefited from your lowering the standards is going to drop out. I wrote a chapter about this some years ago, and one professor at Michigan said, I feel like we're running a criminal enterprise.
By admitting top 10 things you can't say?
Yeah, the 10 things you can't say in America.
Right,
Thank you.
Right. Great book, by the way. I read it some time ago.
I'm waiting for the movie. Some educator at a college in Michigan said, I feel like I'm running a criminal enterprise by admitting people, black people, who we know cannot do the work. They drop out. They drop out with debt. They're angry. They feel that, and on some level, it's understandable. Why did you admit me if you didn't think I could do the work? and therefore there must be something here happening. This professor must be downgrading me on purpose because I'm a black person. They're confused about what happened, and they don't go to another school where their skills are matched better, where they're more likely to graduate. So the black economy suffers, the American tax base suffers, and you have a bunch of angry people that don't understand what happened to them. All because well-intended but wrong-headed people thought by lowering the standards to achieve a certain kind of racial diversity, you're doing something good for society, when in fact you're doing a great deal of damage.
I saw you about a year or so ago at I think it was the Reagan Library. You did a Salem media event, and you were on a panel. I think there was Bill Hugh Hewitt, there was somebody else on there. And the number one reason you said that you voted for Trump is that he wasn't Hillary, right? But there's a lot of progress that's been made. Did you even in a million years think all of the things that he was going to do?
I would be lying if I said I did. He's been a much better president than I thought. I frankly think he's been a much better president than most Republicans thought.
Right.
I interviewed Thomas Sowell not long ago. And before the election, I asked him, Hillary or Trump? He said, well, one's a risk, one's a disaster. I'll take the risk, referring to Trump.
Yeah.
I interviewed him a few months ago, and he said, I must tell you, I am quite pleased. I didn't realize that he would be able to do what he's done. He was pleased with the judges, pleased with the tax cuts, pleased with him trying to do something about immigration.
And that's Thomas Sowell showing emotion, by the way.
And Tom Sowell has been talking about immigration for years.
Yeah, he has.
And I once asked him what the solution was, and he said, they should leave. I said, the illegal aliens should leave? He said, yeah, they should get up and leave. I said, that's not going to happen. He said, you asked me what should happen. They should leave. And so Tom Sowell has often talked about the impact of illegal immigration, especially on people that are unskilled living in the inner city. And he's seeing somebody do something about it. He's enormously pleased.
Yeah, I love Thomas Sowell.
Yeah, he's amazing.
He's incredible. And every student, forget whether they're studying economics or not, every student, generally speaking, should read Thomas Sowell.
And as you know, Thomas Sowell is responsible for red-pilling David Mamet. David Mamet wrote an op-ed piece, wrote a column, I think it was in Vanity Fair, called Why I'm No Longer a Brain-Dead Liberal.
Playwright.
Right.
Yep.
And he talked about being influenced by Thomas Sowell, whom he referred to as America's greatest contemporary philosopher.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. Again, going back to Charlie Kirk, we were talking yesterday on stage, and he was saying that he was, there was somebody on YouTube or somebody was just being vitriolic about him, and he gave him a book without the picture of Thomas Sowell on the back. And he says, I just want you to read this book. And the guy read it, and he goes, yeah, I agree with a lot of things, maybe but it's really racist. It's really, really racist, but it makes a lot of sense. But it sounds really racist. And he says, well, this is who wrote it. And he goes, oh, it's all really good. It's really good. It makes a lot of sense to me. So, okay, are we seeing, just again, in the last year, this incredible cycle of news every single day? And Trump, you have to admit, is a master of it. He just owns the news cycles.
He does.
Because the left's heads are exploding, and then he hits them with something else.
And even if the people on the left don't like him in the media, the ratings go up.
Yes.
When they talk about him, when they show him, when they have him on. So it's a conundrum, because when Trump first announced, the perception on the left was he was a joke.
Yeah.
Can't possibly win, so let's put him on. Yeah. Ratings go up, let's put him on. It's not going to do any damage. And then all of a sudden, this guy catches fire, and they realize, holy bleep, we gave this guy billions of free publicity, billions of dollars of free publicity, and now he's a credible candidate. And had we not done that, he probably would not have been a credible candidate. So they helped to create him, and they know it. And they're mad, and they're trying now to make amends.
Okay, so this is the segue. It's a very good point. So the media, if they are completely self-serving, which they are, institutions of profit, they have to make money, do they secretly root for him to win re-election, even as likely as it looks like he might right now?
That's a good question. The answer is no. I think they despise him so much, even if it costs them some profit, they'll still despise him. Okay. Frankly, I also don't think I don't think they think they're going to lose all that much. I think that they believe that Donald Trump is a bad person, an evil person, and anybody who's a right-thinking person who would subscribe to our newspaper would certainly subscribe to that particular point of view. So I don't think they feel there's much of a downside by going after him.
So you're saying that they still don't get it? They still don't get it?
No, they don't get it. No, they don't get it. I will tell you this story. This is when I first realized that Donald Trump, in my opinion, was going to get the nomination. It was the day after he gave that speech, his opening speech, where he talked about Mexicans being rapists and this, that, and
the elevator speech. The escalator.
The escalator speech.
Yeah.
And I'm watching this at home, and I said, wow, this is going to be the shortest presidential campaign I've ever seen.
Right.
Next morning, I'm in a place in L.A., east of L.A. called Sunland.
Yep.
It's predominantly white, predominantly blue collar.
Yep.
And I was there on business. So I went to a Coco's, which is like a Denny's, sitting at the bar having a greasy breakfast. And up walks a guy who's a middle-aged man. He's got paint all over his hands. I could tell he's a painter. And he says, "Are you Larry Elder? What are you doing out here?" And I told him I was on business. He said, "What did you think of Trump last night?" I said, "What did you think of Trump last night?" He said, "He speaks for me." He walked away. And I went, "That's interesting." Went back to my eggs. Another guy comes up, says the same thing. Over the course of 45 minutes, Dave, about 10, 12 people came up to me, and based on the way they were dressed, they were all blue-collar people. All were white. Two of them were Hispanic. And they all said the same thing. I went on the air that night. I said, "This guy is connected with Middle America because that's Middle America there.
Yep.
And he's going to win the nomination. He's going to become next president of the United States." And I was called insane. I was treated the way Ann Coulter was when she was on that program with Bill Maher.
Yeah.
They still don't get it. They still don't understand that many Americans feel left behind. They don't feel their incomes are going up. They feel that the Democratic Party cares more about minorities, cares more about blacks, more about gays, transgender.
And their
they
own
care
power.
about me. Yeah.
Because you talk about Bill Maher, he's rooting a recession. He's got $100 million in the bank sitting behind the gates in Malibu Colony.
Right.
But it's okay if people commit suicide because they can't pay the mortgage.
Yeah, and you're referring to the time when Bill Maher went on the air and said the best way to get rid of Trump is to have a big recession.
Yeah.
And I'm rooting for that.
Yep.
He said,
to fail in North Korea.
And it may hurt a few people, but I'm rooting for that. This guy has a net worth of well over $100 million, rooting for a recession.
Right.
Are you kidding me?
Right.
I mean, how can you even say that and not be aware that maybe just a few people might be bothered by that or not care?
So the guy that comes up to you in Coco's in Sunland, okay, again, a very blue-collar area, we're talking Reagan now. We're talking silent majority time.
Absolutely.
And they're out there.
And they're out there. And they're beginning to rethink their stuff. Do you want to be in a party with a woman like Maxine Waters, who literally is encouraging people to get in the faces of Trump cabinet members just because they're Trump cabinet members? And don't you think that a lot of Democrats have a real problem with the DHS secretary being hounded at a restaurant and Sarah Sanders being asked to leave at a restaurant and the former EPA head Scott Pruitt being lectured to at a restaurant? I think normal people, normal Democrats have a problem with that and have a bigger problem with the failure of the leadership, the Pelosi's and the Dick Durbins and the Schumers to say something.
So where are they, Larry? Where are the classic liberals remaining? Schumer's not doing anything. He's scared to death of them. But we do need a two-party system. We need a strong two-party system because these guys are going so far to left. You've got a socialist now in New York, and they're all running behind her.
And the majority of Democrats, especially young ones, have a positive view of socialism. What is that? I don't know. I think that they're losing. I think they're losing the base of this country, and I think even they're losing much of their own party, which is why I believe that Donald Trump is going to get reelected in 2020 because they've gone too far. I mean, look at what he's done. What has Trump done that would justify the label of evil? He wants to do something about illegal immigration. Most Americans believe the borders are porous because the politicians on either side don't really want to secure the borders. Most Americans have a problem with that. Most black Americans living in the inner city want choice in school. So he's got a Secretary of Education who wants to give choice. And 2/3 of Americans believe the economy is doing well, a higher number than any time in years, and about half of them give President Trump credit for that. So explain to me what he's done that justifies this anger, this seething animosity towards him. Explain to me what justifies that. I don't get it, and I think a lot of people in the country don't get it.
They're not getting it, but do enough people get it to, I mean, what do you see right now with Congress in 2018?
Donald Trump's poll numbers are going up.
Yeah.
Congress's numbers are in the low 11s or 12s, which they've been for a long period of time.
Yeah.
Donald Trump is way more popular than Congress. I think that as the
more popular than Obama was at this time, if I understand correctly?
About 1 or 2 points higher than Obama was at this time. And as I said, more Americans are happy with the economy. More Americans are feeling good about where they're going with their own lives. And the majority of them are crediting Donald Trump with that. So remember that President Obama in 8 years never gave us 1 year of 3% or more GDP.
Correct.
And it looks like this first full year of Trump, we might get that.
Yeah.
And we're on track for maybe a 4% GDP. And the difference between
Fed says third
1% and 3% is 1 million jobs over the course of the year. So if Obama's recession had just been a normal recession instead of a 2% recession, had been a 3% recession, which is what's normal, we would have had 7, 8 million more jobs right now. And normally, the steeper the decline, the bigger the bounce back. We had a huge recession. That wasn't Obama's fault. But the bounce back, or the lame bounce back, was his fault. Putting Obamacare on the backs of people, raising taxes on rich people, all the regulations to fight climate change. Donald Trump has eliminated 4 regulations for every one new one that he's put into place. And I believe that's probably been a bigger boost to the economy than even the tax cuts.
I'm really optimistic when I take a look at the younger generation, whether it's walkaway movement or TPUSA or whatever it may be, on the college campuses. Are you seeing that? You speak a lot. You're all over the country. Do you get a sense that there is a momentum building for conservatism, or at least a rebuke of liberalism or progressivism today?
I'm sensing a rebuke of the vulgar way Donald Trump's being treated. Now, how that translates into policy, I'm not sure yet. I hope I'm right. All I know is I look at millennial poll numbers, and they seem to have a really positive view of socialism and a positive view of Bernie Sanders. And so I consider that to be a frightening trend.
But do they all vote?
The good news is they often don't vote.
Right.
But the last time the millennial votes, I think, if I'm not mistaken, was the highest voting category for the first time. Normally it's older people, but for the first time, millennials vote.
And I know you've been here, we've been busy, but I just read a report this morning that the Democrats have registered 12 million new voters.
Yes, I heard that too. Democrats have 12 million more registered voters. They haven't registered 12 million. They have 12 million more registered voters. That's what I read.
Oh, that's what that is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I had to read it a couple of times myself.
Okay.
I don't think they went out and registered 12 million new voters. I think they have 12 million more registered voters than Democrats do. But I'll take a look at it again.
Last question for you, because I know you've got to get going. But
I have a girlfriend who's hungry.
So,
and you don't want to be between my girlfriend and a fork. You don't want that.
And you're not in a city where there's any great food.
Is she smiling?
Very much.
Okay.
Yes. Real quickly, folks can find you where?
I can be found a number of places. I have a blog called theelderstatement.com.
Okay.
I'm very active on Twitter. I've got 420,000 followers. I don't have 45 million like Katy Perry, but I'm working my way there.
You didn't lose 1 million last night like Obama did because they got rid of the bots?
That's right. Actually, I lost 3,000 in one fell swoop, but almost all of them came back.
Nice.
My understanding is what Twitter did is if you had a suspect account, they contact you, ask you to give them a phone number, they call you. And if you don't call back, they assume you're a bot and they
Oh, really?
Yeah. But my followers have called back, and so they've all come back.
Oh, wow.
But I know a number of people that lost a lot of followers and they haven't come back. So I happen to think that most of my followers are not Russian bots; that they're normal
Very
people.
nice.
And I can also be found on LarryElder.com. I've got a podcast. I have a 3-hour show every day, Monday through Friday. And on the podcast, we take all the commercials out, and you can hear it on whatever device you want, whenever you want. LarryElder.com.
And my mother listens to you, and you gave her a shout out last year. So,
hi, Mom.
Thanks again.
You got it.
That's 2 in a row, Mom.
Thank you.
Thank you, Larry.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, folks. And you can find us again on America's Voice Network and YouTube. Don't forget to find our podcast series on Ricochet.com, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play. And we'll be back again real soon at Whiskey Politics. Very special thanks to Larry Elder.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.